Okay, let's wait just for 2 minutes so that we can start the class. Okay, then let's start the class. Let me share my screen. ఇంకా ఎవరైనా జాయిన్ అయ్యే వాళ్ళు ఉంటే వాళ్ళకి మెసేజ్ చేయండి అన్న, జాయిన్ అవ్వమని చెప్పండి. ఎందుకంటే ఈరోజు డేటాబేస్ కనెక్టివిటీ గురించి చెప్తాను. సో ఇట్స్ ఎ ఇంపార్టెంట్ క్లాస్. సో లెట్ ద అదర్స్ నో. Text them to join the class, or if not, let me know. It's okay, so that we can start the class. Can I start the class? Okay. Today we are going to discuss about database connectivity with our projects. Okay, how we are going to use to insert the data and to retrieve the data of a customer or of a product of our applications. So how we are going to interact with the database with our web application, and what is the method how we are going to connect to our project like JSP project. So what is the language we use for that? Okay, in our Java internship, okay, we are using the JSP pages. So basically we are using dynamic web projects. Okay, for example, like action project, what is it? Action methods project form, for example. Okay, let it be. Okay, now in a like JSP project, right? So integrating our SQL, like we have previously downloaded our MySQL log, right? So it is an interface to connect with our database. So to connect with this database to with our web application, we need to we use JDBC. Okay, using JDBC, JSP page can communicate with the database like MySQL just to perform the operations like insertion, update, delete data, or retrieving the data from the database. See, if we want to register for any application, okay, we are going to use the we are when a client want to enter his data, we use the form data and we retrieve the data and we will store it in our databases. Basically, the web applications use the data and store the data in our databases. So we need to interact with that with our project dynamically. So we use JDBC drivers and JDBC connections. So here, how we are gonna do that? Okay, let me create one project, file, new project. Okay, అంటే మన అప్లికేషన్కి డేటాబేస్కి రెండింటికి కనెక్షన్ ఎలా ఇవ్వాలి, రెండింటి మధ్యలో ఆపరేషన్స్ ఎలా జరగడానికి రీజన్ ఏంటి, ఏమేమి టెక్నాలజీస్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం, what we want to use. Like to use a JDBC, you all need some JDBC drivers. So అవన్నీ ఎలా చేయాలి, ఎలా కాన్ఫిగరేట్ చేయాలి అనేది చూపిస్తాను. ఓకే, ప్లస్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ నేమ్ ఈజ్ లైక్ database connectivity connect. Okay, just click it on the next, check this box, generate web.xml, finish. And here I'm creating a new file, name it as index.jsp. Okay, in our index.jsp database example, I am taking one anchor link as register. Okay, I'm taking here one data list as register, and one is login. Okay, database connect, and here I'm taking one h reference, hypertext reference as register.jsp. So I am going to create this register in one file, going to create new JSP file, name it as register.jsp. When the user clicks on register, it will appear like this, and changing the database example, and I'm taking here form. Okay, the form, I'm taking one label as enter email, and taking the input to take the data from the user, and taking the type as email. Okay, and here I'm taking the name as email itself. I'm taking the required attribute, and again I'm taking one label. I'm giving the name as enter password, and I'm taking an input and taking the type as password. Okay, and name as pwd and the required attribute. Okay, it's a simple form to register for an application. Okay, here you need to enter email, and here you need to enter your password and click on the submit button. For submit button, again I'm taking one input type as submit, and I'm giving the value as register. Okay, I'm giving the value as register, and again in the form tag we need to take two attributes, name as action and the method. Method by default it will be get, but we need to send this data in a secure form, so we are using method as post. So this is a registered data, so I'm taking the registered data.jsp file, one new file. So I'm going to create one new file again, new JSP file. Here what we do means, 1 second, database. Here we need to retrieve the data whatever the user has entered in the register page. Okay, listen carefully. See, in this form the user will enter the data like email, some random email. Okay, some random email, and here you will enter some password as a root. Okay, when you click on the register button, it will send the data to the register data. Here we need to retrieve the data. Okay, that is a one way. We need to first retrieve the data like a string email equals to, we use a request body. Okay, request dot get parameter, and what is a parameter name? No, register, it is email, right? So in the double brackets, double quotes, email, and email, and same for the password as well. String pwd equals to request dot get parameter of double quotes pwd. See, here we are retrieving the our email and the password whichever the user has entered in our form. So in our database, like we have MySQL Yog, right? Here we need to create one database. Here we need to create one database to store the information of our application. Okay, suppose imagine this database connectivity is one of our application. Okay, when all of the users when the users registered here in our application, we need to save every user data in the database. So here we are retrieving that data, and we need to insert these data into our database. So how we are gonna insert the data dynamically? So here we need, firstly we need one connector. Okay, we need one connector of a JDBC driver. This enables the application to interact with the specific databases. Suppose here we have MySQL, so we need one drive. Okay, we need one jar file. Okay, I will send the jar file in WhatsApp group. Okay, here I will send it. 1 second. Document self software. So jar files on my skill connector. Okay. Okay. All of you download this MySQL connector.jar file. Okay. So that file we need to store it in the library folder. Okay, library folder. We need to paste that jar file, or we need to include that jar file in our library folder where you can add all external jar files. Okay, we use a library folder where we want to add any external jar files, like example JDBC drive. So okay, where it is, here it is, right? So I'm copying that and I'm going to paste it in our library folder. Okay, see, in our library folder now we have MySQL connector of JDBC. Okay, next we need to we need to register this my JDBC driver. Okay, for Java we use mysql dot connector dot. This is a version of the my connector file. Okay, so here we need to register that file. So how we are going to register that file means we are we need to register by using the class dot for name. Okay, here we have some classes, so we need to register that. That statement loads a mysql driver to our project so Java can communicate with the mysql. So let me write that. So we need to here here we need to take one try and catch blocks for exception handling. If any error appears, it will catch that error and it will display it to us. E dot print stack trace. All of you know about this, right? Exception, try, catch, finally methods. So here we are using and we are registering our JDBC driver like class. Okay, we are using the class dot. Okay, for name and what is our driver name means com dot my SQL dot cj here the mysql dot cj is using for our new versions. If our driver is an older version, we can use it as mysql dot jdbc dot driver. Okay, this is loading of our JDBC driver to our project so that the Java can interact with our MySQL. Next, what we need to do is to establish the connection between the MySQL databases. Here we have registered our JDBC driver, okay, in our project, and next we need to give the connection between the MySQL database and with our JSP application. So for the connections we use one as connection con equals to, okay, here we use the driver manager dot get connection. Okay, what we use, driver manager dot or get connection. Okay, get connection of, in this we need to give which type of driver you are using, like JDBC of mysql and where is your mysql. It is if your SQL server is local, like it was in the remote place, you need to give here IP address. Or if your SQL server is in your system, so we have to give local host and the port number 3306. And what is your database name. Suppose we will give it as database example. Okay, and database example, and we need to end here and comma. We need to give the username of our SQL server and we need to give the password of our SQL server. Okay, so here it's showing error because we need to import SQL classes. So import java.sql.everything. Okay, so for that we will go that error. Okay, so first we need to create the database of database example. So I'm going to SQL yoke community. Here in the above menu, top menu, here we have the database, right? click on that. Here we have create a database. Okay, the database, I'm giving the name as database example, and I'm simply clicked on create. Okay, here see we have one database example. So this is a database which we want to use for our JSP application, which is nothing but database connectivity. See, okay, let's come again to the our register page. To the register page. See, user will enters the data here, his email, and here you will enters the data as of his password root, and when we click on the register, it will the data will be sent to registered data.jsp. Here we have, here we'll retrieve the data from the form. Okay, email and the password, and then what we want to do, we need to store that data in our database. What is our application database example? Okay, this is our application database, and here we loaded our JDBC driver. First we need to take library like jar file to connect with MySQL file. Then we need to load that driver by using the class. Okay, class dot for name. And after registering our JDBC driver to a project, we are connecting that JDBC driver with our database. Okay, with our database, so that it can dynamically interact with our project. Okay, dynamically means when the user enters the data, when he submits the data, it will directly insert it to our database by using our statements like SQL statements and some queries. So how we are going to do that means, see, in our database. Okay, here we have database.example, and here we have the tables. Okay, when you click on that, see, it didn't showing anything means we didn't created any tables. So see, in this drop down we have the database name, so I am just simply creating one table. I'm just creating a table, like create a table. First we need to create a table as register. Okay, I'm creating one table as register, and I'm giving the I'm giving like a customer ID, or whoever will register, it will give the customer ID and the type of it as big integer, and it must be unique. So I am taking as a primary key, and it should automatically increment. So I am giving auto increment. We are not giving statically here we it will dynamically upgrade its number based on the registrations happen in our applications. Okay, this is customer ID, and next what we are giving, we are taking the email of our customer. Okay, email, the type of the email as varchar, and we're giving the memory space of 255, and next one is password. Okay, same varchar of 255. I have created a simple table to store the data of the customer, Okay, first we need to create the table. I'm giving the table name as register, and the CID is the customer ID and the customer email and the customer password. Okay, I'm selecting this. I'm selecting this. I'm running here. See, execute query. When I run here, see one query executed and 0 rows affected. Okay, I'm refreshing it. See, in our database example database, here we have tables, right? I click on, see here, I get the table as register because I have created the register table. And when I click on the register table and table data, see, CID is automatic and email and password. Okay, now we have the register table, so we need to insert that data into this table register where email and passwords are there. So again we are moving to Eclipse. Okay, here we retrieved email. Okay, here we retrieved the password. Okay, here we have our email. Here we have our email, and here we have our password. Okay, what here we are doing? Here we are doing like a register our JDBC driver to JDBC driver, and here what we are doing, we are giving connection between JSP application and MySQL database. Okay, MySQL database. Next, what we need to do, we need to insert this data into our database. So for insertion we use, okay, statements. Okay, here we gonna use prepare statement. This statement allow us to write SQLs. Okay, SQL queries. So by using SQL queries, we are gonna insert the data, or we are gonna update the data, delete the data, and we can retrieve the data. For executing queries, we are using prepared statements. Okay, here I am using prepared statement, and the variable name ps equals to, I need to connect this. Okay, connect with our statement con. Okay, con dot, okay, con dot prepare statement. Okay, for insertion the data, for insertion or for updating, for deleting or for retrieving, we use this statement, and inside this statement in the double quotes we are gonna write the query, the MySQL queries to interact with our database. So here we are uploading the data of a user into our database. So we need to write the query as to insert the data. Our query is insert insert into which, what is the table name of our database? Register. Okay, this is a table name of our table register, and uh, in the brackets we need to give what are the values you are entering, like email and password. But in the register table, what you have given here, we have given email and password, so we need to give the same email and password. Okay, and next need to give the values for the email and the password. So we are placing here placeholders. Okay, we are placing here for placeholders because for the SQL injections, like for perfect setting the values, like here we are use two values, so we need to set the two values by using the variable ps dot set. Okay, this is in a string, right? So we are setting the string of first one. Okay, for the first placeholder, which is email. Okay, which is email 1 comma, this email address is stored in the email variable, right? So here I am writing as email. If you get confused, I will take it as e, and this I will take it as p. Okay, this is email and this is a password. So here we need to give the e, because when we retrieve the data and it was stored in the e variable, so we need to give that value in the setting when we setting the values. Okay, when we are setting the values for the placeholder for this email, the email was stored in this e variable, so I am setting this. Next, ps dot set string of, okay, set string of, this is a second variable, right? So 2 comma, what is second one? Password. So where is the password stored? It was stored in the p variable, and I'm giving it as p and semicolon. Okay, this is a query. Here we are using SQL query. Okay, SQL query to insert data into our database. Okay, this is an SQL query. We use that query to insert the data into our database by using the prepared statements. Okay, these statements use it to create SQL queries. Next, see, when we need to execute this query by using ps dot, okay, we need to execute the query, right? So while we executing that, it will give the output in the integer form. Okay, it will give the output in the integer form. So here I am taking integer result r equals to ps dot, okay, execute update. So for insertion, for update, for deleting the data, for deleting the data, for updating the data, for inserting the data, here we are gonna use the execute update. Okay, ps dot execute update. But for the retrieving the data, we are gonna use rps dot execute query. But for the insertion and for update and for the delete purpose, we use the method called as execute update. So ps dot execute update means it will update, it will execute this query, okay, and it will give the output in the integer form, either 1 or 0. If the query is executed, it will give the output as 1. If the query is not executed, it will give the 0. Okay, the result will be 1 if query is executed, or else it will be, or else it will be 0. Okay, okay, sorry, email, and here I'm gonna use email. Okay, next. Okay, this is a, this is how we are gonna insert the data into our database. Let's try, let's run this project and see it's working or not. Okay, just simply I will explain it once again. Okay, don't worry, I will once see it's working or not. Right click on that, run as, run on server, Tomcat, selecting the server and click on finish. Okay, stunning. See, in our register page, I'm, when I click on register, here I have two mails and I'm giving some Charan at the rate gmail.com. Okay, and here I'm giving the name as some random password. And see, when I click on register button, okay, but see, one second, and we need to know whether this data is inserted or not. Okay, we need to know, right, when he enters the data and when he click on the register button, he need to give, he need to know whether the data, whether he has registered or not. So for that purpose, see, here we have in this integer r, we are going to get 1 if the query is executed successfully. Here we'll get 0 if the query is not executed. Okay, by condition, like if r is greater than 0, then only the user will register with our application, else he will be he needs to register once again. Okay, understood everybody? In the integer r, if the value is 0, then he is not successfully registered with our application. But if the integer r, in the r variable, if the value is 1, he was successfully registered. So by using that, if r is greater than 0, then he is successfully registered, like registered registered successfully. Okay, he gets registered successfully. But if the r is less than, like, means if this condition falls, so is definitely not registered. So out dot println, we need to print the message to the user, failed to register. Okay, failed to register, please try again, please try again. Okay, see here. Now you see I enter the data and the email Charan dot at the rate gmail.com and some password, and when I click on the register button, see the message here we received as registered successfully. Registered successfully means the database with our project has connected successfully, and the data which I have entered was stored in the database. Okay, stored in the database. Once we will go to our database and see, I'm closing the database example and I'm refreshing it. And when I open the tables, and when I will open the table, registered table, and I'm refreshing it, see the CID, the customer ID is 1, and the email is charan@gmail.com, and the password is Charan. Okay. Okay. This is how we are gonna use our database integration with our project. Okay. I will explain once again. See, everybody, you need to see this. Okay. See, first I have created one project, and I created one index.jsp in our web app application. Okay, here I have taken two anchor links. One is for login and one is for register. Okay, for register, when we click on the register button, he will go to register.jsp, where we use one form to take the input, to take the data of any customer to get registered in our application. Okay, for that I have used one form. Okay, one form element. Inside the form element, I have taken the two inputs, which is nothing but one is email and one is password. Okay, I have taken for email type as email, and for the password I have taken the type of password, and I have given the two names, one is email and password, and I have taken the required attribute also. Okay, and again I have taken one input, which we use to submit the form. Okay, the type is submit, and for the value I have given register. When you click on the when he submit the form, like submission means when you click on the register button, the data will be sent to registered data.jsp by the method of post with secure data. Okay, here we will retrieve the data by using request.get parameter. Okay, request.get parameter. Now we need to store this data in our database by using JDBC. Okay, here firstly we need to register our JDBC driver. So I am taking my SQL connector jar file and I'm placing it in our library file. Okay, by that here we are registering our JDBC driver, and here we need to connect the JDBC driver with our MySQL by driver manager dot get connection. Like we are using the JDBC driver, so we need to tell that I am using the JDBC driver to connect with our MySQL. Here, if your SQL server is the remote way, like we need to give that IP address of that MySQL server, but our local server address is localhost and that port number is 3306. And here everybody listen, okay, here we need to give the database name of our project in our SQL. Now in my SQL, I have taken the database name as database example. So here I am giving the database example. If in your SQL, if you want to give the another name like first project, or see here I have different types of database. Like here I have a Dreamers database. So we need to give here the Dreamers database name only. Okay. Here in our first, we need to give username, and the next we need to give the password of our MySQL. Initially those both are root and root for me and for you also. Okay, this is a way we need to connect our database and our application. Here we will get the connection, and after getting the connection we need to insert that data by using the SQL queries. For this SQL queries we are going to use the statements. Okay, we are going to use the statements, prepare statement, creating the object PS, con.prepare statement, and in double quotes I am writing the SQL queries, okay, to understand with our Java code which values we need to enter into our database. So okay, here the query is insert into register table. Okay, previously we are connected to our database. Inside our database, here we need to insert the data into register. Okay, inside our database, here we have the tables. First we need to create the data, we need to create the table. Okay, we need to give some variable names. So here I'm taking email and password. Suppose if you want to create in a new table for register by using the large values, like example by taking the is full name, contact number, address, Aadhaar card number. So you need to create everything here, like giving the spaces name. And if you want to take the Aadhaar card number, okay, here, and give the type of data. Okay, so you need to do it in here. You need to create the table first, and after creating you need to write this query insert into register. In the register table we have created CID, which is dynamically it will allocates its number. So begin primary, it will allocates unique number which is not same for anybody. So it will increment, auto increment. When you insert a data into this table, it will automatically increases the CID number. It will give its number which is unique to everybody. Okay, email and password. Here we are taking email and password. So I am inserting that email and password, whichever the name I has given in the table, I need to give that in the query, email and the password. Okay, and the values for both of these email and password values and the placeholders. I am placing the two placeholders because I am inserting only two values. If you want to insert the more values in the table, you need to create that in the table first, and after that you need to place here like some example Aadhaar card. Okay, so here I need to give the one more placeholder. I need to set that placeholder. I need to give one more 3 comma some Aadhaar. Okay, like this we need to insert data into the table. Okay, after setting the value, after setting the value, here we will set those values for those placeholders. and after that we need to execute this query. For insertion data and for deleting the data and for updating the data, we are going to use the method as execute update. Okay, so the query ps.execute it will give the result in the integer form. So I am taking the integer r to store the data of the result. So result will be 1 if the query is executed successfully, or else it will give the 0. So okay, if r is greater than 0, then only it will be executed, right? Okay, so that the registration is successful. If the r is not equals to 1, so then it means the query is not executed. So that means it was customer failed to register. So please try again. Okay, by this we can navigate from one page to another page. Like how if the user get registered successfully, so we need to send him to the login page which we have created here. Okay, by this we can do that. Okay, I'm taking here login.jsp page. So I will create a new file, web app new JSP file, login.jsp. Okay, so I will send, please login here. Okay, registered successfully. If the customer get registered, I will send him to login page to login there. So for redirecting dynamically, when he enters the data and when he click on the register button, it will directly redirected to the dynamically. It has to redirected to the login page with a message. Okay, I have earlier said, right, for action tags, we use the action tags for mostly navigation to navigate dynamically. So here I will use that navigation tag as, see, this is Java code. So now I am using the JSP action tags. To write the JSP action tags, I need to close, okay, I need to close this Java code by using scriptlet tag, and again I need to open that scriptlet tag because this is a Java code. Okay, so we need to encode this code in between scriptlet tags. Okay, this code is encoded between the scriptlet tags. Okay, again this code is encoded between the scriptlet tags. In between these scriptlet tags, now I am going to use the JSP action tag, which is forward. Okay, I'm ending this tag and I need to send the customer, so I need to redirect him to the login page dot JSP, login.jsp. Okay, but in the else, whereas in the else he need to register again, so he need to try it again. So where we need to navigate him again, we need to navigate to register.jsp page. So again, this is scriptlet tag open here, and this is Java code, and I'm ending this Java code by using scriptlet tag. Okay, and this is a remaining Java code, so I need to encode that in scriptlet tag. So I'm opening that code. Okay, I'm opening that scriptlet tag. Okay, no issues now. So here I'm using action tag as include and the page as register dot JSP. Okay, register not JSP. See, again I will go to my web application. I will go back. See, I will refresh here. Again, I am giving some name, Hari Internet, gmail.com. and I'm giving the password as some random password. And when I click on the register button, okay, see, it has directly redirected to please log in here. So it has directly redirected to the login page without any message, because we need to know whether we have registered or not. Okay, the client has to know whether he was registered or not. So when we want to send a message to the client, instead of forward, we need to take include tag. Okay, we need to take include tag so that it will include that message in that page. Okay, now see, again I will go back, again I will refresh it. Now I will give some name, gmail.com. I'm giving some password, enter. Okay, see, register. See, registered successfully. Please log in here. Okay, we are navigating our client dynamically based on the input, based on the output. Okay, output whether he is registered or not. If he was registered, so we are sending him, we are navigating him to the login page with a message. If not, we are sending him to again register page by sending the message as failed to register. So please try again to register. Okay, everybody understood? అర్థమైందా నాన్న ఏం చెప్పాను? ఎక్కడైనా అర్థం కాలేదు అంటే చెప్పండి. I will explain it again. ఎక్కడైనా సరే, స్టార్టింగ్ కనెక్షన్స్ దగ్గర కానీ, లైక్ డ్రైవర్ దగ్గర కానీ, మీకు పంపించిన SQL కనెక్టర్ ఉంది కదా, అది లైబ్రరీలో పేస్ట్ చేయండి. ఓకే, లైబ్రరీ అనే మన ఫోల్డర్ ఉంది కదా ఇక్కడ. See, here we have the library folder, right? Below webinf, we will get one library folder. In that library folder, we need to paste our MySQL connector file. After that, we need to register our driver by using class.forName com.mysql.cj JDBC driver. Then we need to connect our JDBC driver with our application, with our database. Okay, connection con driver manager.get connection. And after that, we use these statements to write the SQL queries to insert the data into the database. Okay. And next, we will set the values for those two placeholders, and we will execute that query for insertion and update, and for deleting the data, we are going to use execute update. For retrieving data, we will use execute query. Okay, here executing update, it will give the result in integer like 1 or 0. So I'm taking integer r. So if the r is greater than 0, the query is executed successfully. If the r is less than 0, so the query was not executed successfully. Okay, ట్రై చేస్తారా అందరూ? నార్మల్గా ఒక ప్రాజెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి. నాట్ ఓన్లీ ద టూ ఫీల్డ్స్ లైక్ ఈమెయిల్ అండ్ పాస్వర్డే కాకుండా ఫుల్ నేమ్, డేట్ ఆఫ్ బర్త్, ఫోన్ నంబర్, అడ్రస్ అలా తీసుకొని మన డేటాబేస్లో ఇక్కడ, ఓకే, ఫస్ట్ ఒక డేటాబేస్ని క్రియేట్ చేసి దాంట్లో విత్ ద హెల్ప్ ఆఫ్ ద క్వైరీ, మనం డేటాబేస్లో ఒక టేబుల్ని క్రియేట్ చేయాలి అంటే క్రియేట్ టేబుల్ అని చెప్పి దాని పక్కన టేబుల్ నేమ్ రాసి, ఓకే, హియర్ వి నీడ్ టు గివ్ ద యూనిక్ ఐడి. ఐడి అనేది కంపల్సరీగా ఉండాలి. ఓకేనా, ఒక టేబుల్లో ఒక ఐడి అనేది కంపల్సరీ ఉండాలి. సో వీ నీడ్ టు గివ్ దట్ సిఐడి అండ్ టేకింగ్ టైప్ ఇట్ యాజ్ అ బిగ్ ఇంట్ లైక్ ఇంటీజర్ టైప్, and taking the primary key because it has to be unique for everybody. యూనిక్ గా ఉండాలి అందరికీ ఐడి, కాబట్టి నేను ప్రైమరీ కీ తీసుకుంటున్నాను. ఎన్ని రిజిస్ట్రేషన్స్ వస్తే అంత ఆటోమేటిక్ గా ఇంక్రిమెంట్ అవుతూనే ఉంటుంది అనమాట ఆ యొక్క ఐడి. సో యూనిక్ గా ఉండకుండా యూజ్ చేయాలి అంటే మనం ప్రైమరీ కీ యూజ్ చేస్తాం. తర్వాత మనం ఏవైతే స్టోర్ చేసుకుంటున్నామో డేటా, లైక్ ఇక్కడ నేను ఈమెయిల్ ఇచ్చాను. సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ యూ హావ్ టేకెన్ ద నేమ్, ఇక్కడ నేమ్ అని ఇచ్చి దాని యొక్క డేటా టైప్ ఏంటి. ఓకే, varchar, we use a varchar for the strings and characters, okay, in the SQLs, and same for password and for mobile numbers. Okay, for all the types you can create one table here. క్రియేట్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఇక్కడ మనం ఇక్కడ క్వైరీ దీంట్లో ఏ టేబుల్లోకి ఇన్సర్ట్ చేయాలని చెప్పి, ఇన్సర్ట్ ఇంటూ రిజిస్టర్ టేబుల్ వేర్ ఐ హ్యావ్ ఈమెయిల్ అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్. సో ఇక్కడ నేను ఈమెయిల్ అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్ తీసుకున్నాను కాబట్టి నేను ఈమెయిల్ అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్లో నేను ఇక్కడ డేటా ఏదైతే యూజర్ ఎంటర్ చేశాడో ఆ డేటాని ఈమెయిల్ అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్ కాలమ్స్లోకి పంపాలనుకుంటున్నాను అని చెప్పి ఇక్కడ 2 ప్లేస్ హోల్డర్స్ని పెడతాము. ఆ 2 ప్లేస్ హోల్డర్స్కి ఇక్కడ మనం వాల్యూస్ అనేది సెట్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, సెట్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేస్తాం. ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసి బేస్డ్ ఆన్ అవర్ రిజల్ట్ మనం ఏ పేజ్కి రీడైరెక్ట్ చేయాలి యూజర్ అని చెప్పి ఇక్కడ మనం యాక్షన్ ట్యాగ్స్ యూజ్ చేసి మనం యూజర్ని డైనమిక్గా నావిగేట్ చేస్తాం బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ద అవుట్పుట్. ఓకేనా? ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే నాకు అడగండి, లేకపోతే చాట్ బాక్స్లో అయినా పెట్టండి, లేకపోతే నాకు వాట్సాప్లో అయినా పింక్ చేయండి. ఓకే, today's class is done. So if you have any doubts, let me know. I will wait for 2 minutes. So if everybody okay with this, so you can drop off from the class. Unmute yourself and you can raise your questions. I am here.